Welcome to Rock and Recovery. I'm your host, Jay. Today I have a special guest, Paige Alexander, and we're going to be talking
Mhm.
about food addiction. And so I'll just turn it over to her and let her take it away.
Well, are you wanting to know specifically about what food addiction is, what it's about, how people get it, or what would you like to know first?
Okay,
What
first,
what makes you
like,
lean
how did
in?
it affect your life, the food addiction, and what are signs of food addiction? Because why is there an addiction to food? I don't, I just,
Okay, that's actually a great place to start. Why is there addiction to food? That is maybe the biggest, best question you could have asked because the food manufacturers, well, the tobacco own industry used to sell cigarettes, of course, and then they couldn't. And so what they did is they decided to go in and buy these major food industries and apply that same addiction model to in the food industry as they were using in the tobacco industry. So they hired scientists to come in and engineer these foods to the highest bliss point available, adding as much sugar, salt, and fat to foods in the highest combination to reach
mm,
the highest bliss point available so that when people would eat them, they would literally become addicted. So they're addicted to the dopamine release that comes afterwards. And so once the brain starts having that dopamine and it gets that high, in the center brain, it's where all the other addictions are housed. That the brain doesn't care what addiction it is as long as it gets its dopamine. And so people want to come back and buy more because they want to get that good feeling that lasts
so
for a
it's
little
like,
bit, and then it don't feel so good after.
so it's almost like any other addiction, once
It's
your
the exact
body
same.
relates to it, some form of
Mhm.
pleasure,
That's right.
Funyun's good, you know,
Mhm.
and
That's
they
right.
taste good. And so you start getting addicted to
Mhm.
Funyuns. Let's say,
That's
I'm not
exactly
saying
right.
anything bad about Funyuns. So,
Don't
but
send them email about
yeah,
Funyuns.
please do not get me in trouble, Funyuns. I love you guys.
And they were designed for you to love them. They were
Right.
not designed for you to not love them. They were designed for you to eat them and not be able to stop eating them, which is a sign when you're full and you've had enough. You still want to keep eating, and then they want you to go back and buy more. And that's just exactly how it
So
works.
they were actually made to hit those
Yes.
dopamine
Yes.
receptors and
Yes. Yes. Literally created to make you addicted. And they do that without your knowledge and without your permission.
wow. So what do people cover up with the food addiction? If there's okay, so you don't just start out as a food addict.
Well, so think about this. I You don't have to tell me how old you are. I'm 62, but as far
I'm a few years younger.
yeah, I'm sure you are. But there from my earliest memory, I've had sugar at every birthday party, every occasion, every Sunday dinner. And really, there wasn't a lot of talk about food addiction when I was growing up. And it's just what people did. The TV dinners, the instant meals were just coming into effect. So, um, you've got early exposure. That's one thing. You've also got trauma that people use to numb, because anytime people are using food for reasons other than nutrition, they're giving food a bigger job than it was ever designed to do. So if
So
you're
like anxious eating or depressive, when you're depressed, you eat
you had
or
a fight with your boss, you broke up
right,
with your boyfriend, you failed a test, your parents were yelling at you, you're
you
lonely.
relate food to comfort.
That's exactly why people overeat. That's the
Hmm.
word. There's no other reason. They're trying to comfort and numb themselves in some way, looking to outside sources for an inside job. Food is
Gotcha.
no different than any other drug. It's used for all the same reasons.
Wow.
That's just their substance of choice. That was always my drug of choice.
So you just talked about your drug of choice was food. How when did you start
Sugar.
sugar? When did you
Mhm.
realize that you were addicted to sugar?
Probably my mid-50s when
Wow.
I yeah, I mean, I just knew I was having sugar binges a couple times a month, and I was super controlled in every area of my life. But I was successful doing all the right things, but for some reason, the monsters would come out of the closet unpredictably, and I would start in, and I could not stop.
Wow.
I didn't know why. I didn't know how long it would last. It was scary. And I would be trying to figure out with every bite, okay, how much more am I going to have to exercise to compensate from this? And when will it stop? And how many more cookies am I going to eat? And even though I wanted to stop, I literally physically could not stop the hand to mouth till it was all gone,
Wow.
or I was too sick to continue on.
So how did you change did you have to change your diet or just thinking, or
I gave up
what
sugar
changed?
altogether. So what changed first, and that's another great question, is I finally understood what was going on. I became educated. I happened to be listening in to a podcast or something about a speaker talking about sugar addiction or food addiction, and I'd never heard that term before. And so I started listening more and more and getting more information. And I found out that it's a blood flow problem too. When that dopamine starts rising, that blood flow that's supposed to be up here in the frontal lobe, this is your braking system, your logic center, your long term consequences. It leaves there and races to that addictive center, your center brain.
Wow.
And the dopamine, you put a bite of your drug and you've got a fire hose of dopamine going off in the brain. And so if you could somehow figure out how to intercept that blood flow and bring it back to the frontal lobe and start making rational choices, then you could maybe control those binge episodes and have impulse control, which you don't really have access to when there's no blood flow up here. That impulse control is offline.
So it's just like any other addiction, that
It's
impulse control,
just
you go
like
right
any
back to
other
what comforts
addiction.
you. And, I like to say a lot of times addiction's a side effect of whatever you're going through,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
with the sugar addiction, you're almost born with that sugar addiction. I'm not going to say you're born with it,
I
but from a
No,
very young age,
depending on what your mother is eating, yes, you can already be predisposed to that. There are studies out there that say that
wow.
you can be born with that propensity. And then think about the exposure, the environment we live in. It's everywhere. Are you in the United States?
Oh, I am. I am
Yeah.
in sunny Florida right now.
So you know what our environment is like that we're facing every day with it around you on every corner and marketing, and it's low-hanging fruit, pun intended, it's an easy way to addict people
Yeah.
is with food.
Mom, if you're listening, it's all your ding fault.
Yeah.
And I know
But
she's listening. She always listens.
that's nice.
So,
Hi, Mom. You didn't
so
know any better is what I wanna say to Mom.
yeah, it's not her fault, but it's your fault, Ma.
But you know what? This is just now I don't know if you've heard of it more in the news lately, but the awareness is really increasing, and they're starting to want to put much more regulations and stipulations on in these food manufacturers. So I think we are making some progress. Well, because it's killing us. We're going to have a medical crisis on our hands in this country
There's more and
because,
more diabetes, people with diabetes. There's more and more people overweight, obese,
yep,
and
70%.
it's just constant. And I know for a fact that the hardest addiction to stop is sugar.
That's right.
The
Because you have
hardest
to
addiction
still
to
eat.
kick 100% is sugar. People would think that I'm crazy, but
No,
sugar, fructose, so refined sugar is different from, corn sugar, or whatever they call it, but the fructose and the sucrose, it's in everything
right. The highly processed sugar has no fiber in
processed.
it. So let's talk about fruit. You get natural sugar in there, but you also get fiber. Why does that matter? Because your blood sugar doesn't spike. That's when the dopamine is released. When that blood sugar spikes, they travel in tandem,
Mm,
blood sugar and dopamine. And so
okay.
if you eat a Snickers bar, your blood sugar is going to shoot sky high. So's your dopamine, and it's going to say, give me more. I don't care if you have to eat the donut out of the trash can. This is an urgent life or death situation. You must get more in order for us to survive. So it's
Wow.
that powerful.
So
It
how
w-
did when did you so you realized you had a problem in your mid 50s. So basically about 8 years ago.
yeah.
Uh
I always knew I had a problem. It's just that my figure started changing. I could always
ah
out exercise, and then, menopause set in and my waist started expanding, and I'm like, "What?" And I'm vain enough that that made enough of a difference to really up my search.
so how did it
So,
so other than the midlife or I mean yeah midlife weight gain, how did it affect you and what were you trying to cope with before that to you I mean not even knowing that you had an addiction to it, but
what was I
what
trying to
was
numb out about?
yeah yeah.
I think that I had a pretty normal childhood, so I think mine was just repeated exposure. So if
Mm.
you think about that, if you just have repeated exposure, repeated exposure, repeated exposure, dopamine has memory. And so it's going to remember that felt good. So you know what my biggest one was? Boredom. And
Oh my god.
I have ADD, and so the minute
Bored
I'm
eating.
yes, that is
Yeah,
my
that
number one
sucks.
trigger above
Oh,
all else. So it
man.
goes back to awareness, like I talked about before, right? You got to be aware of what's going on. And once you're aware, then it opens the door to do something about it.
You know, that's funny you say boredom because,
Hmm.
I'll be bored and I'll be full. I don't need to eat. I just ate lunch or breakfast or whatever. Now I'm bored. It's like, what do I got? What do I go to? The first thing I go to
Cookies.
Coca-Cola and then I look for something to munch on. You know, Coca-Cola is my new addiction, I'll just say, but I know I'm addicted to that stuff.
Yeah.
But then anything in the counter that looks like really easy, chips, whatever, another sandwich. I don't need the stuff. It's just
So that's
mind-blowing.
when you stop yourself and you go, what am I really needing right now? If you're not hungry, remember what I said about if you're using for food, if you're using food for reasons other than nutrition, you're giving it a bigger job than it was ever designed to do. So you're relying on food to comfort yourself, right? So that's when you stop and you go, okay, pause. What am I really needing? Is it connection? Is it sleep? Is it standing outside? Is it whatever it is? But there's something that your body is wanting. There's something that internally you are needing. Your nervous system is asking you for something, but the answer is always comfort. Just I don't know in what form, but that's your job to stop and do some internal examination to figure out what it is that you're actually needing.
So I remember from a very young age, I grew up in a big, huge Italian family. I mean, when I talk about big, huge Italian family, I'm related to half the town. I couldn't date anybody in my town thinking that they might be a cousin or a relative, So I remember my grandma mainly doing the cooking, but my grandpa would make sure everybody was at the table before anybody started eating.
Mhm.
And I do remember relating food to pleasure
Yeah.
because of those experiences,
Sure.
because of they're all positive. They're all happy,
Mhm.
joking, laughing, sometimes not so happy, but for the most part, my grandpa, used to make these ribs. Man, I still think equate ribs to my grandpa.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And so now there's a problem there. So let's think about all the people that have decades, not years, decades of these traditions and memories and food memories and dopamine memories going on. And so you have holidays that you have to fight and things like that. So it's a trick, it's tricky. So you really, in order to get through those occasions of special occasions for people like me that have given up sugar and and don't eat sugar, then the holidays can be a predicament, right? Because,
Right.
Aunt Bessie's crinkle cookies or whatever. So then you have to just remember your why for doing it and being in your right mind before you go in there, because you know how that story turns out. There is no such thing as one cookie, and that leads into 6 cookies. And by the way, when you're 6 cookies deep, you're out of the situation. Your brain is you're no longer there. You've left the situation and you're just focusing on your next fix. So it
Right.
ain't about Aunt Bessie at that point. And so you have to be prepared to say, thank you so much. Those are so pretty. I'm so full. I would love to have one, but I'm just not too full right now. Or
So it's almost
whatever
like,
you say.
so it's just as bad as an alcohol or a drug addiction,
It is just as
literally
bad.
one day at a time.
It is just as bad. And
Wh-
it is the hardest addiction to break.
Wow. I did not know. I did know it is the hardest addiction to break, but I did
Well,
not know
because you
that
still
the
have to
causes
eat.
of it. Yeah, because
Yes,
you have to
you
eat.
still have to eat. And sugar is 10 times more addictive than cocaine. If they studied
Wow.
lab rats and they gave them the choice between sugar and cocaine, lab rats will choose sugar every time.
Wow. I did
Mhm.
not know that. That's nuts.
I know I would.
Wow. You know, as an addict, as a former drug addict, I probably would pick the drug instead of the sugar. But that was just me because I was that type of addict. But right after that one I want the other one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I can understand how or why the mice would be attracted to sugar because
Yeah.
I mean it's probably sugar literally is in every single food we eat just about.
Right. That goes back to the story about the food manufacturers, right?
Yeah,
So, do you go to the grocery store and do your own shopping?
I do.
So, if you'll notice, about 80% of the foods in the grocery store are processed. They're in the
Mm,
middle aisles, shelf stable for years.
for years, I've
And
got tortillas that still haven't molded, and I'm
right.
still wondering why.
Yes, that's right. And if you look on the ingredient label, you'll see a list of labels, very, very long. And that's why they're shelf stable, and there's so many chemicals in those foods.
Mm.
So when we work with people, we're just shopping the perimeter, try to stick to single ingredient foods. I don't care what diet you're on. I don't care if you're vegan or carnivore. Just stick to single ingredient foods is how we start going through detox. And what that happens is, as we can get you off sugar and the processed food, then these reward systems in the brain will actually reset themselves to the normal factory settings. But you will be going through detox for a few days,
So when
and
you
it
talk
will be
about
hard.
single ingredient foods, you mean
Let's talk
meat's
about that.
supposed to be meat or
Yeah,
vegetables are supposed to be vegetables?
your eyeballs, you don't need an ingredient label. Your eyeballs is your ingredient label. You can see there's one thing in there: fruits, vegetables, grains, eggs, meats, dairy, if you tolerate dairy, whatever that is. But there's no long list. If a third grader can't read everything on that list, then you shouldn't be eating it. Anything more than like 3 ingredients, like let's say a can of tuna might have tuna and water and salt
Tuna
or something.
water. Yeah.
Yeah. But more than that, it's processed.
Hmm.
It's created in a factory. Twinkies don't grow on trees.
That's the truth.
And I always say Mother Nature needs to have touched that food in some way.
Mhm.
Sunlight or water must have been necessary in order for that food to be available. Cheetos
So
don't
if you're
depend on Mother
if you're
Nature.
detoxing from manufactured foods, I'll just say manufactured foods or processed foods,
Yeah.
and you're detoxing and trying to do the regular single ingredient foods, is it more expensive or is it the same price? And why do you think people shy away from going the one ingredient route or one food route instead of the processed?
Wait, what was the first question you asked me? Because I had a great answer for
Is
that
it
one.
is it the same price wise?
Okay, thank you. I'm glad you reminded me. That is a great question. I love that because people say it's so expensive to eat, the fresh fruits and vegetables. Well, you know what's expensive? Insulin. You know what's expensive? Missing work. Missing work is expensive. You know what's expensive? Is having to buy new clothes. You know what's expensive? Being sick. All that is very expensive. I mean, in all seriousness, it is very expensive to not be well, because at some point the piper is going to want to be paid, and it's never going to be convenient, and you're never going to have enough change in your pocket whenever the piper comes calling. So it's very inconvenient to be sick, and you are not going to be well forever if you live on these foods. I'm not saying that. That's science talking. That's studies that eventually it will catch up to you. And so I don't know that it's that much more expensive. And the other thing I tell people is your grocery store will have sales specials every single week in the produce department. What fruit, what vegetable is on sale? What meat is on sale that week? Just be creative and think about a fun adventure each week of what am I going to create with, the raspberries and the pork loin and the
So
Brussels
I would
sprouts.
think that another great way to not only get out and do something would be like farmers markets or fruit and
Yeah.
vegetable stands.
Yes. And there's
And they're all
also,
over here in Florida, so that's why I say it.
yeah. And a lot of times they have these trucks that come in from other places. I don't know the name of them, but you can sign up and get like these boxes of
Mhm.
fruits and vegetables. But if there's a will, there's a way, and there's discount grocery stores like Aldi's would be one that we have here in Kansas. I don't know if you
Oh,
have
we
that
got
there,
all
but
these here too.
yeah, but they are very reasonable. So if you want it bad enough, you're going to get it, and it's not that much more than what you're spending anyway. So to feel good and take care of yourself, it's an investment, and it can be done. And what was the other question you asked me? Because it was good too.
Why do people not choose the fresh way instead of the unfresh way, or the single ingredient instead of the processed?
Because they're addicted. They're
Mm.
looking to get high. They're using food to get high.
Can't you get the same effect from so sugar in fruit, like watermelon? That's got a high water content, of course, but it's also got a high sugar content.
Thank you
Wouldn't it
for
be
that
the
question. You are falling right into my trap, by the way. All your questions are perfect. I love it. It's like
I
we
don't have any
designed
questions
this.
in front of me. I swear to God, I don't have any questions in front of me.
um, this is perfect because so let's talk about this. When you are used to eating those hyper palatable foods and you live in a food environment that we live in the United States, let's choose Hostess Ho-Hos. You're going to take a bite, dopamine is going to spike, and then it's going to crash back down, and you're going to feel terrible brain fog, fatigue, restlessness,
Yeah, sugar
not
crash.
yeah, it's a crash. And so as you continue to do that over and over again, guess what happens to your reward pathways? They down regulate,
Mm,
same as drugs, so where it takes more and more to get that same high, right?
gotcha.
And so people that have addiction, they're no longer trying to get high. They're just trying to get to baseline because they are so miserable. I mean, it's just very uncomfortable to be in a down regulated reward pathway to
Mm.
where you're just Jones and just trying to feel good. So that's what it looks like to eat the addicted foods. Now, let's go back to single ingredient foods. You get this lovely little gentle rise and low sloping down when you do that. The reward pathways will never be affected. They will always support you along with your blood sugar. So you're not going to risk insulin problems at all. So remember how I said the insulin and the dopamine they work in tandem. They just flow together. And whenever you're eating the single ingredient foods, you're not having those highs and lows all day long.
Mm.
And the further out you get from the processed foods, your taste buds change, your desires change, your appetite and love for stability changes, and you got your life back. You can concentrate on other things because when you've got an addiction, that addiction is always scanning the room looking for a hit. It's very disruptive to the nervous system and to you being your true authentic self because it gets in the way. That addiction has to be fed first before it can think about anything else. So nobody
Wow,
wants to
that's
live that way.
So, okay, so you have Real Food Recovery, and I know that's a program, and
Yes.
you came up with that yourself after years and years of living as an addict, and then just within, like I said, like 5 to 8 years, have started this program.
It's about 3, not quite 3 years old, about,
Okay.
yeah, 2.5 years old. Started a podcast, Real Food Recovery, about 3 years ago, and then that morphed into the online addiction community. So for those of you
Hmm.
that are it for those of you that need support, and let me say this shameless plug, but you need support in order to do this, to get through this. You can't do it on your own. If you could, you would have by now, and you haven't. There's no way out of this without support. I mean, it's highly unlikely that you could ever achieve this without support. It is a bear because we live in a food environment. If you want to get off cocaine, you're not going to, drive past 10 cocaine stores on the way to work. I mean, and it's not going to be in the break room, and they're not going to, want to be doing it during office hours or at the kids' parties or
And you don't
whatever.
need it to live.
You don't need it to live. So you can avoid it. You can change your environment on that pretty easily, but food is a major problem, and it faces you all the time. So now I can't remember what the question was again, because
So
I
you
get off on
founded
these.
Real Food Recovery.
Yeah, yeah.
What inspired you, and what's it about, basically?
So yeah, let's talk about that. So this person that I heard talking about food addiction, I joined their community, and I didn't like I saw that there was maybe a better way to approach it from a more holistic
Hmm.
point of view. So we cover our 4 foundational principles: are single ingredient food, sleep. I think sleep and food almost go together. They really do work together. Movement of some sort, and spirituality. I'm not saying you got to go to church. I'm saying you need to have something in your life when life kicks you in the teeth, and it will, a source to go to for comfort other than food or whatever the drug is. So food, sleep, movement, spirituality. So very holistic approach to this in order to recover. And then we have some other supporting principles like stress management, value system.
Sounds just like a drug or an alcohol addiction uh, recovery. Honestly,
I've never been in one, but that's good. If they address all aspects of your life in a
belief in a
holistic.
higher power, that you can't manage it, that your life is unmanageable. The first steps, the first 3 steps, or the first 3 steps of AA are: uh, I have a problem, I can't do it, he can, so let him. You
I love
know,
it. I love it.
and the same thing with Celebrate Recovery. That's another good 12-step program. But yeah, you're basically saying uh, the same type of things that an addiction recovery in a substance, you
I love
know.
it. Good. I'm glad they do that, because you really do need that spiritual salve on your heart in order to get through this, because it's tough. It's one of the hardest things you'll ever do.
So how did you do it? Did you do it by yourself, or did you join, like you said,
No,
you
I
found this
joined.
dude?
Yeah, I
Or
joined that other community, and so I knew that sugar was my main thing. I didn't really care about McDonald's French fries or hamburgers or things like that.
dang, you man telling you me I can't have McDonald's fries and hamburgers? I live off that
Yeah,
stuff.
I
I'm just saying.
know. I mean, every once in a while, it depends. Can you eat a little bit and walk away and be satisfied and not think about it again?
Sometimes.
Maybe it depends on if it's a problem for you, and it depends on what your goals are. But for me, sugar, I could have easily eaten sugar and not eaten food ever. And that's what I
Wow.
did for maybe my first 40 years. I,
Okay.
again, avid exerciser, higher metabolism. And so just peanut M&Ms and a Diet Coke for breakfast
Does
was.
microwave pizzas count? I'm just saying. Yeah,
Again, we're going back to
I
the read the ingredient label,
yeah, I
right?
am doing the bachelor thing here, so if it doesn't cook in a microwave, I'm probably not eating it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Um, so yeah, I joined that program, and my eyes were opened. It was the first step into getting off the sugar and really making a hard decision. I'm going to have to get this out of my life. I've spent a lot of years figuring out, how can I keep it and get rid of it at the same time. And I went to plant-based sugars for a while, and I have a food blog called Food Fitness by Paige, where I've got over 2,000 recipes of healthy eating. And I tried the plant-based, and that helped a little bit, but that does keep the sugar cravings alive. So yeah, I figured out with the tools that they taught me, and that's what we work on too in our community at Real Food Recovery. What are the tools that you need in order to calm yourself when these cravings come up? You make a decision in advance. You have connection. You've got support. You just set up all these different tools and have them in place to support you through the times that are really tough. And a lot of food prep. Food prep is my number one tip and trick to getting through the day. Before I go to bed at night, I have an idea of what the next day looks like. I've got my food prepped in advance to where it's very easy to grab and go. I do not wait till the last minute to decide. I do my grocery list once a week. I go to this grocery store once a week. I do food prep once a week for my meals coming up. And then during the day, I'm just grabbing my containers out and ready to go. Not only does it keep me clean, it's a time saver. I mean, my days are beautiful because I've got my food prepped in advance and ready to go. So just a total time saver. Those are just a few of the things that we do. Self-talk is huge. If you're ever having a bad craving, you can say to yourself, you're okay. You're okay. You're okay. That's something that brings the blood flow back here. Self-talk, reframe, gratitude. There's a list of things that
Everything
we
that you
do.
do in addiction recovery.
Mhm.
Literally, you're saying the same things that I've heard and I've said to any addict, even to myself, same things that we say in addiction recovery. So I think it's great that if somebody wanted to, they
Mhm.
could probably use your
Mhm.
program as a hybrid to do addiction recovery too.
Sure. Probably, yeah.
Just because
Sounds like
the self-talk thing, 7 seconds is all it takes for your mind to change thoughts. If you
yeah.
keep telling yourself over and over, I've got this, it's going to be okay. I've got this. So it's going to be repeated 7 seconds. That's all it takes for you to get
And
out of
what
a
you're
funk.
doing, what you're doing is redirecting the blood flow to the frontal
Yep.
lobe. So
Okay.
whatever we can do to redirect blood flow and interrupt impulse control, that's what we do. And realize cravings are going to pass. They will come and go, but they will pass. You're not going to die. No one has ever, so far in history, has ever died from a craving.
See,
You'll
and
get
that's
through this.
I think the difference between our addictions, and I'll be honest, is mine would put me in jail, where yours I would commit crimes for my addiction. And
Mhm.
sugar, I don't think I'm going to commit crimes for sugar
You know why? Because it's so.
because it's so readily available.
Thank you. And everybody's doing it. It's socially accepted. You don't, but you know what? If it was a crime to get it, I think more people would be in jail.
But you can't get a DUI on sugar.
Well, that's true. You've got me there.
Yes,
But
I'm sugar drunk.
yeah,
I'm happy.
but I will say there you are altered in some state when you are
Yes.
in a major binge. You do some. You're not in your right mind
So
for
there
sure.
is irrational behavior.
Oh yes, yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
and you're sick. I mean, when the
Right.
amount of food some people can consume in a binge session is wild. You would think that
Wow.
their stomach is getting ready to literally tear apart. So yes, there are physical dangers, not to mention all the health problems that ensue. Inflammation, cancers, diabetes. They've linked sugar to like 150
Wow.
different diseases. Even Alzheimer's now. They're calling it
Really?
diabetes 3.
So
Mhm.
sugar addiction to sugar, and we're talking processed sugar, not natural whole
That's
sugars,
right. That's right. Because of the fiber.
because of the fiber.
Right. The fiber slows the rise of blood sugar. So an
Okay.
apple, it has obviously much less sugar.
Oranges, apples, fruits,
Yes. Yes.
fruits with
Great.
natural sugar, natural fruit sugars, not
Hmm.
a processed sugar, and
Right.
that's the type of sugar we're talking about right now.
That's exactly right. We're
Okay.
talking about chocolate chips and Oreos and
Chocolate in general,
yeah,
Well, wait a minute.
frosting
Wait a minute. Didn't chocolate come from a tree?
until it was processed and added a bunch of
Oh,
sugar.
yeah, you got me there. And added sugar to it. You got me there.
Yeah, I mean, are you gonna eat straight cocoa powder?
No,
No.
no.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm trying to find ways around something,
Yeah,
That's
no,
the
believe
that's
me.
the addict in me, of course,
Yeah, no,
trying to
I'm the
find a
queen.
workaround to something.
That's the I'm the queen of the workaround trying to figure it out. Again, try to get rid of it and keep it at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. But this one right here, well, it came from the ground, but you added sugar to it. Yeah,
So don't you agree from can I ask you a personal question?
absolutely.
So don't you agree the longer more distance you put between you and your addiction, that your cravings change, your desire for it change, your understanding of I want this better life, all of that gives you more stability in staying clean?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
See, for
same for
me,
me.
yeah, I change people, places, and things, and I don't think you
That's
need
right.
to necessarily. I see. This is where I have a hard time with like a addiction to a sugar. Okay, not only would mine land me in jail
Hmm.
and make me do crime, but the people around me were bad people, and I was selling my drug to or getting my drug from. So the friends I had weren't really friends. They were
No.
more who can use who the most to get high.
Mhm.
And so when I say people, places, and things, the places you might not have to frequent as many
Mhm.
places as a sugar addict, or the same places anyway. And the things, of course, the things got to change. That's common between the two. But the people and places, I don't think necessarily have to change as drastically for, let's say, from you to me.
Can Let's talk about that for a minute.
Okay. Yes.
There's a lot of people in your life that are either food pushers or want to go get the Chinese buffet with you. And
Oh, you're
when
right
you
about
want to
that.
stop doing that, your phone doesn't ring as much.
Hmm.
Because for me, when I have social occasions with my girlfriends now, it's let's get together and take a walk.
Mm,
And my friendships narrowed. Yeah, my phone doesn't ring as much to get together because
gotcha.
people either, yeah, want to go out and eat. And
You're
when I
right.
say eat, it's not going, let's not go to the salad bar. It's let's go get high somewhere off of
Mm.
Mexican. So
Damn, why'd you have to talk about Mexican too,
I
man?
know.
Jeez, that
But
stuff's
there's see,
good.
you've got to learn to either get a you said you're a bachelor. You got to either get a
Yeah,
woman
well,
or learn to cook.
my girlfriend does. The person I see sometimes does know how to cook really good. So
Yeah,
well, I'm
you're covered.
she's yeah, she's yeah, pretty good a cook.
Great.
you know,
Good for
and
you.
there are places we got. I live in Swamp Billy country. I'll tell you right now, there's more gators than there is people in my county.
Oh, geez. Sheesh.
So yeah, so it's kind of it's very nice and calming. So it's peaceful for me, and the my chaotic lifestyle that I used to have to this is beyond night and day. So yeah,
Right.
people,
You've
places,
got
and
your
things
life
did.
back. You've got your life
Yes,
back.
yes.
And that's how I feel too. I wrote a book. So on Amazon, I guess I didn't mention that our book,
No, you didn't.
Yeah, our book, Real Food Recovery. If food isn't the answer, what's the question?
Hmm.
You can buy that hardback, softback, Kindle, Audible. So if you want to learn more about how we did it and what we did, then you can read
So
about
if
that.
food's not the answer, then
What's
what's the question?
Mhm.
How'd you come up with that name?
My partner at that time, uh, we had workshopped that, but that was one of her ideas. If food isn't the answer, what's the question? And I'm like,
Wow,
that's it.
that
That's
has.
it.
I could. So I'm trying to think of a question that wouldn't involve food right now.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's
But yeah,
crazy.
if you want to look under Real Food Recovery on Amazon, you can find us there.
Awesome.
Hmm.
So how long has it taken you to now? Is this program like a 90-day program, or is it just
No, it's for just as long as you want
okay?
support. So
Okay.
there's people in there for a long time. It's $79 a month. We meet 6
Okay.
hours a week over Zoom with very highly trained coaches. You can come in and out as necessary, and we have a WhatsApp that's 24/7, 365 for support. And
Awesome.
yeah, we do different assignments, journaling assignments, and reflection prompts and things like that to help people in their recovery. But yeah, it's just a beautiful, beautiful, supportive network for people to go
See,
to.
once again, everything that you're talking about is the same thing in addiction recovery of drugs or alcohol or substances, because support, a community, accountability partners,
Yeah,
uh, people that you can reach out and talk to. Yeah, it's all the same. I mean, it's just crazy how I wouldn't have thought a food addiction and a drug or alcohol, a
yeah,
substance addiction
yeah.
would be so similar.
So connection is the opposite of addiction. And
Yes.
I had a family member that was in rehab, and when they came out, we talked about what they did while they were in there, and they're like, "Wow, I mean, that's all the same stuff that we did." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's brain work. It's a brain problem.
So,
Your brain is hurting."
what's the difference between an eating disorder and a food addiction, though?
So, eating disorder, people get high off of lack of eating, lack of food. That gives
Hmm,
them a high. And people that have food addiction, they get high off of eating
eating
highly
too
pal.
much.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. So, lack of eating is an eating disorder. Overeating
Yeah.
is an addiction.
Yeah, they actually get high from lack of eating. That will
Wow,
never
that's
happen to me.
how would you get?
I
I'm
don't
trying to
know.
wrap my head around that one, because how are you
It's
going to get high from not eating?
it's mental problem.
That's
These
gonna
are
First of all, that's gonna, don't
Mhm.
eat too much, and you're not gonna
Yes.
be around to eat.
Mhm.
Wow,
Mhm. Yeah.
that's strange. I'm not casting any stones, because I'll be the first to be stoned,
Yeah.
but that is a disorder for real.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say that's a mental
Yeah.
disorder. Okay.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. I would have never thought. You see, when you say eating disorder, I would have thought it would have been overeating, or binge purge type thing, anorexia or bulimic, that type of thing, instead of not eating to get high.
Right. And there's overlaps in the eating disorder world and the food addiction world. There's a lot of overlaps, but in general, that's the biggest distinction is they don't want to eat and we can't stop eating.
Wow, that's crazy. So, one last final question after I let you tell us where you got your book again from. But my
Okay.
final question is going to be, if you want anybody to take anything away from this conversation today, what would that be?
Oh, good question. That there's hope. There's hope. You don't have to live in this prison. That we have a way out. If you want to find us at realfoodrecovery4u.com, that's the number 4 and the letter U. There's hope. We can walk you, we can take you by the hand, we can go gently, it can be slow, but there is hope for you to get out of this food obsession, the food noise that you hear about that is constantly in your head. If you're thinking about it all day long and it's tapping you on the shoulder, if it's a distraction for you at work, in your relationship, in your families, in anything that you want to create, there is a way out and we can help you do that. And you can find us on all the social media channels under Real Food Recovery on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We're on all those platforms as well. And our podcast, we're actually getting ready to launch a new podcast, Real Food Recovery Podcast. We're changing from Real Food Recovery to
Nice.
Real Food Recovery Podcast. So we're starting a fresh new line here pretty soon. But those are all the places that you can get support from us. But I'm happy to talk to anybody more about what the program offers. I just can't bear for one person to be suffering needlessly and be a victim of the food industry and the environment that we live in. There is a way out.
That is awesome. And once more, where can you get your book and the programs that are available?
Yep. On Amazon, Real Food Recovery. If food isn't the answer, what's the question? That's on Amazon, and it comes in 4 different ways: hardback, softback, Audible, and Kindle. And then our website is just realfoodrecovery4u.com, which is the number 4 and the letter U. You can sign up for our email list, and you can get on that if you want to do that. Or you can follow us on social media too. And if you want to reach out to me, I'm glad to meet with anybody just to talk about what we can do for you.
Awesome. Well, Paige, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy
Yeah.
schedule and
Yes.
coming on here and just like you said, bring in hope. And for me, hope means hold on, pain ends. I will always use that acronym for hope. Hold on, pain ends.
Oh, I
You
like
know,
that.
and that's for me. It's always going to be that way. And being able to let somebody know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, that there is hope, is what I like to do. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for informing me, making
Yeah.
me a little teeny bit smarter
Yeah. It's
because
interesting, right?
yeah, it very much is.
Yeah.
I did not know the similarities
Mm-hmm.
between that form of addiction and my form of
Yeah.
addiction. And
Very
I
similar.
say mine, not individual, but just a substance use,
Yeah. It's a
SUD.
brain disorder. Yeah.
Yeah, a
It's
substance use
it's a
disorder.
dopamine problem. Yeah.
Right. I didn't know it was so similar in process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
So thank you for coming on here and sharing that
Yeah.
information with me.
You've been very interesting to talk to, and I appreciate your time
I
as
hope
well.
that's in a good way, you know.
Wink, wink. Yeah. No, you came up with great questions that really brought out the points that I think will help your listeners more than anything. So that's kudos to you. Your questions directly reflect how it impacts the people listening. So good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. And I know I'm going to too. So keep rocking your recovery out there. If you're listening, keep rocking your recovery and tune in next time. I'm
See you
Jay.
later.
Paige, we're gone.
Bye.